welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. It's been a while since I've gone for a proper walk around the farm. It's been too hot, and also there's been lots of walking for getting work done, like for fencing. So it was nice to get out early one morning this week before it got too hot and just go for a very short walk into the bush. I didn't go too far because the grass is very long, so I was quite wary of snakes, and also it was not taking very long for the day to warm up either. It was nice though to see some summer flowers and check out some of the spots that I had explored over the spring and winter and just see how different things are looking. I also took a photo of our big dam, and it's going to be interesting now to compare year on year what the water situation was like last year compared to this year. Ridley the pug is settling in really well. She's starting to play a lot better, not bite quite so much. And she has started to fit in with the other dogs as well. Wade still seems to be a bit scared of her. He kind of runs off or skulks into a corner when she's around because she's quite playful and very small, and probably he doesn't know what she is really. So we've tried taking them for walks together a few times, which has helped to sort of get them close without being free to do whatever they want, and they're starting to settle in well together. On Monday morning this week, which was the Australia Day holiday, I was planning to have a little bit of a sleep in. The weather wasn't super hot. It was a nice morning to spend in bed. But I heard some really weird noises outside. The cows were making really odd mooing noises, and then Nasty was barking in a really crazy way. And then I heard this really strange, loud whooshing noise, and it took me a little bit to figure it out. But as soon as I opened my blinds, it made sense. There was a hot air balloon down really low, flying basically between our house and the vineyards across the road, quite low. And it was making quite a lot of noise. I think they were trying to pump as much hot air into it as they could to get it up higher again. This week I also did a little bit of op-shop shopping. It's not something that I do regularly, but I really do enjoy it when I do. I like to find some nice pieces of clothing, you know, some bargains. I got myself a new pair of jeans and a few tops. Explored quite a few different op shops, and one thing that I found that is really cool is a vintage craft basket. It's in really good condition, and it's really cool to be able to find something that kind of fits with my aesthetic and with what I'm thinking about doing with the interior of the shed. And I plan to do a lot more op shopping as we move forward, when I start to sort of fit out and accessorize for the workshop area. I have finished knitting all of the coloured squares for the colour block blanket. Thankfully I did get 24 of each colour, so it will make a good square size blanket. I don't have to do any sort of odd things with the pattern to try and figure out how to use all of the coloured squares that I have. I'm now closing in on finishing all of the blocking, but in the meantime I will begin to start the process of joining the squares together. I spent some time playing around with colour combinations and patterning combinations. First I decided on the best order for the 5 squares in terms of colour and pattern, and then I started to work on how to make them look good as an entire blanket. I worked up a couple of different options, and I have decided on this one. It's quite different from the version that's in the pattern, which is the traditional diagonal. I did try what I thought that looked like, but I think the dark green especially makes it really strong lines, and I didn't want to have that real strong line in it. So by offsetting it by 2, I've been able to make it still patterned. It's not random at all, but it doesn't draw the eye into the really strong lines of just having diagonal colour. I have wound the cream colour that I'm going to use for joining them together. This is just over 500 grams of a DK weight. Hopefully it's going to be enough to join it all together. I started with the ball winder and got to about 200 grams, but my ball winder is not super huge, so then I just had to hand wind the rest on, and as you can see, it's about as big as my head, so hopefully it is enough. So now the challenge really begins. As you would have seen, I am a knitter, really not a crocheter. I can crochet and I like the way that it looks. It's just not really my go-to or where I feel comfortable. But I think it really is going to be the best way to join these squares together, because I don't want to sew them. That would mean having to put a needle on the end of here and work the yarn through and do it in little sections. I've been researching ways of joining squares in a continuous crochet method, which means you sort of start on one side and crochet around a square and then you join the next square together, and so you use one piece of yarn and you just keep going. So I'm going to try it. Hopefully it does work. I will share some progress as I go along. It might take a few tries before I actually get it to work how I want it for myself. Part of the joy of crafting is the challenge and trying to figure stuff out when it comes to things like this. I'm really proud of all of the knitting I've done so far. I think the squares have come out all looking really, really great. So I want to make sure that this next part of the project is done as well as the knitting, and that as an overall project it really looks great and will be a usable and functional piece in the house. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.